I get a lot of questions on the Kaffelogic BOOST Kit, and that's why I want to answer them here in this video and give you some more details about the BOOST Kit. So what is the Kaffelogic BOOST Kit actually? It looks like two metal rings, but in fact it's more of a software function. So it's a software function that translates all the roasting profiles on your machine to larger and smaller amounts. Usually when you're working with the machines, all the profiles are made for batches of around 100 grams. But with the BOOST Kit, they are being translated to amounts from 50 grams up to 200 grams. You can then, when you start roasting, select the amount of beans that you want to roast. So when you have the BOOST Kit activated, you don't just start the roast, but before starting your roast, the machine is asking you how many beans you have in the machine. And in steps by 10 grams, you can put in what amount of beans you're roasting, and then all the profiles are being perfectly translated. The nice thing about it is you have consistency on your roast no matter how many grams you're roasting. And technically it's an adaptation of the fan speed, but it's quite a complicated setting, and Kaffelogic has done all the work for us by then doing these settings for each profile, but also each amount of beans you are going to roast. When you receive the BOOST Kit, you are going to get these two rings, and you are also going to get a little card with an activation code. And then in the Kaffelogic Studio software, you go under the tab Help to activate features. There you put in your individual code, and then the BOOST function is activated on your software, but then also directly on your machine. You have then minimum batches that are starting at around 50 grams and a maximum that is between 170 and 200 grams of coffee that you can roast. The reason why you have a range here is that it depends a bit on the beans you are using and also the roast styles. Coffee beans have different densities, so it can be that you have a coffee with a low density, which are typically espresso beans that are grown on a lower altitude, or for example, Robusta beans. And then when you're even roasting them a bit darker, they're getting lighter the darker you roast. So if you do, for example, an espresso roast with a light bean and a dark roasting level, then the beans will be lighter. So then you will be roasting a bit less. So say, for example, 170 grams. And if you're roasting harder beans and you're roasting them to a lighter roast level, then you might take up to 200 grams of beans, because then the beans are heavier and they stay in the roasting chamber, even if you do a 200 gram batch. When you receive the BOOST Kit, beside of this software activation code, you get these two rings. And the reason why you have two rings is actually you can decide whether you want to use the larger ring, especially for larger batch sizes, which is holding the beans better together in your roasting chamber, or you take the smaller rings, which then allow you a better view on the roast. So if you put, for example, the smaller ring and you have a 200 gram batch, then it can be that the beans are overspilling a little bit when you open the Chaff Collector after the roast. That's why Kaffelogic also provides the larger ring, so that you can then decide which one is the one that you like better. And if you do smaller roasts, so if you go to 100 gram or lower, you don't need the rings. So they are really for larger batches in order to keep the beans then together. That's it. There's just one hack from the practical use with the Kaffelogic BOOST Kit that I want to share with you, because often it can happen that after the roast, you will have some beans in the Chaff Collector here in this little cup where the chaffs are. And if you have beans that are flying in the Chaff Collector during the roast, then it depends a bit if they are flying there during the roast. So if you see during the roast beans are being put in the Chaff Collector, then you need to go a bit lower with your batch size. But in most cases, it's just happening during the cooling of the roast, because when you're cooling the beans in the Kaffelogic Nano, then the airflow will be stronger. Some beans are being then put in the Chaff Collector cup here as well. And if this is happening, there is a quite simple hack. You can just take the content of your Chaff Collector cup, put it in the empty machine, and then put the Chaff Collector again on your machine, but you don't start a roast now. You just go to Fan Preview, which activates the fan. And in Fan Preview, then all the chaffs are being put in your Chaff Collector. The beans, they will stay in the machine. And like that, you have beautifully separated the beans from the chaff in your machine. I hope this video was helpful for you. If you want to know more about the Kaffelogic Nano 7, then have a look at the other videos in our channel as well, or come to our website where you'll find a lot of information, but also have the possibility to order this great machine. If you want to know more about it, then head over to rosetravels.com.